Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Hope you're having a good weekend. What I normally do when I do a review of a fight is I'll normally do it about 10 minutes, maybe even less, after the fight's finished. So it's all fresh in my mind. And it's not so much a review really. These are more, sort of stream of consciousness, having just freshly watched the fight. And then what I do is I go back and I have a look and I think, I like the reaction of the people in the comments because they point out things that I hadn't thought about, or maybe they point out a contrary view that I think actually that makes sense, and I'll think, well, why did I say that, or oh no, I was right about that, and it's just interesting to do it that way. And quite a few people regarding the Canelo Charlo fight left comments that were quite scathing against Charlo's performance. They were saying he didn't make enough effort, he was there just to survive, he could have done so much more, he'll regret it later on, and so on and so on. And I actually think there's something to this, because, look, let's take a couple of examples. Well, let's take one glaring example that pops into my head. I'm sure I'm not the only one, and that is, have you ever heard anyone berate Thomas Hearns for lasting less than 3 rounds with Marvin Hagler? You haven't, have you? Unless they're an idiot. Why? Normally, if you get knocked out in the 3rd round, it's, well, he didn't do very well. But it's because Hearns, as is the popular buzz phrase, dared to be great. He went in there against an all-time great middleweight, having moved up from first welterweight, then super welterweight, or light middle, as it was then called, junior middle. And he tried to beat Hagler. He didn't just try to beat him, he tried to knock him flat. And of course there's that famous first round. I mean, I think the 2nd and 3rd rounds of Hagler-Hearns are decent. But when people say it was one of the greatest fights ever, what they're really talking about is that first round, because it was just an explosion, an eruption, like of Krakatoa proportions. But no one ever says, Hearns, he got knocked. The attitude is, he got knocked out, but Christ, he tried to win. There was no quitting the guy. He had one idea in his mind, one ambition, one goal. I'm going to beat the crap out of you, or I'm going to get knocked flat trying. And okay, he got knocked flat, but he tried. Now, Charlo, if you contrast this with someone like Charlo, who was moving up 2 weight divisions, to fight a guy who, apart from being very good, it has settled into the super middleweight division a couple of years ago. Yes, okay, jumping up a couple of weight divisions and taking on an elite guy it bears some sort of praise. I get it, but you got to win. You got to go for it. And with the benefit of hindsight, I probably was a little bit too lenient on Charlo, because Charlo, okay, he got floored in the 7th. I thought before he got floored in that 7th round, he was starting to open up a bit more. 6th round I'm thinking of in particular, although the first 5 he didn't really do anything at all. He was very conservative, very safety first, very, I'm not going to get hurt here. And of course we know that Canelo does have these, cement, like a sack of cement hitting you, these thudding punches. He's not really, I mean, he is fast, but you wouldn't call it sort of stinging Wilder-like power. It's like a thudding, a cement-like power. I always think of someone being whacked with a sack of cement. Anyway, that's the daft image I have in my mind. Whereas with Wilder or someone like that, or Thomas Hearns, to get back to Hearns, with that right hand, it's more like a sort of laser beam, and it zaps you. So okay, it's easy, and I'm a little bit cautious because it's easy for me or anyone else to sit here and say, well, Charlo should have done this and Charlo should have done that, and you get the image in your mind of the fat slob covered in the remnants of a bag of popcorn with a beer, pointing to a fighter what he should and shouldn't do. I get it, some people are idiots, but at the same time, I think as fans and ones that know what we're looking at, we're entitled to have a view and make certain observations. And looking back at the fight, and I did watch it a second time earlier today, yes, I think the criticism against Charlo, that he, okay, he's brave, he got in there and so on, but he didn't try to win. And when people talk about him daring to be great, well, trying to win is daring to be great. Going the distance is the mentality of a journeyman. And I'm not saying Charlo is a journeyman, don't get me wrong, don't twist my words. But at the same time, you've got to go in there to win. It's a life-changing opportunity. It's the sort of thing where 20, 30, 40 years down the road, you don't want to say, could have done more, should have tried harder, should have done better. I mean, Tommy Hearns always wanted a rematch with Hagler. He didn't get it. Did he deserve it? I would say so, even though he got knocked out in 3 rounds or less. Do you think Charlo deserves a rematch with Canelo? I don't. Just to give another example, I mean, I must have read this interview 30 plus years ago, but Mike Tyson's first professional trainer was a guy called Kevin Rooney, you may know. And he once fought, he was a pro himself, he fought the great Alexis Arguello, and he got knocked out in 2 rounds. But in the interview he said, I tried to win that fight. I wasn't running, I wasn't holding, I wasn't trying to kill the clock. I went in there trying to fight him, trying to win. And the reason I got knocked out is because he was so much better than me. But at least I tried. Yeah. Another example to illustrate the point of this video. But what do you think? Comments below as usual. Do you think Canelo's on the slide at all? Do you think that victory over Charlo flattered to deceive for the reasons that we've just discussed? Let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know. And of course, as always, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button. And looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. Bye for now.